If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
Do you want to know the meaning behind your date of birth and how your life is shaped? Learn to understand your gifts in this life to live your fullest potential. Discover where the planets were positioned on your birthday through soul-centered astrology with Rita. Call now on 0800 849 2310 or visit www.themoreshow.co.uk/book a reading.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host Kevin Moore. Joining me today are astrologer Rita Herreys and Doctor of Oriental Medicine Dr. Robin Falkoff. Stay tuned. My first guest is esoteric astrologer Rita Herreys. For the past 25 years, Rita has studied and practiced ageless wisdom and astrology, focusing on soul-centered astrology. Her work is specifically committed to supporting humanity in our wake-up process and the various stages of initiation with the unfolding divine plan. Alongside astrology, Rita is the founder of her cashmere clothing designed to nourish the light body through colour therapy. Rita Herreys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
Now, Rita, just tell us a little bit about yourself first and how you came into basically astrology.
Well, that I'm sure is a previous life thing, because it was just very natural for me to look at people's faces, study people and contemplate people and purpose. And I think I probably picked up a Linda Goodman book at the age of 10, swallowed it, just studying it, and then starting to ask everybody what their birth date was when I was a child, and then starting to notice different patterns and things around, and then I wanted to understand, what is this then? What does our birth date signify? And it was just interesting because I'm half Indian in this lifetime. My father was Indian, my mother's Lebanese, and so it was quite normal, I guess, within our culture to look at deeper influences or look at the purpose behind things. And I think I must have been 7 when my uncle came, who was a palmist, and I was just fascinated to see that the lines on the hand actually do have a significant influence on people, or the other way around. It's a manifestation of what they are. So it just got me studying from being a child.
So, I mean, how does astrology work then, for people that don't know too much about it?
Okay, well, I would say it's a science in its infancy, and it's only a tool in reality to get a deeper intuition around understanding a person's soul purpose. So in the way that, for instance, the moon governs, even though the moon is recognised to be a dead planet, it still has enough power to move the tides. And it also governs menstrual cycles and all sorts of things from, the gardeners really notice the way that the moon is in relationship to things growing.
Yeah.
So imagine that that's one planet that's actually a dead planet. So when you take sacred planets like Jupiter and Saturn, the various different ones, they have also a huge effect on our own light bodies and our own systems. Our own bodies are made up of 85% water. And if people were to even track the moon, you would see how much it affects your own emotional body.
Okay, so with astrology then, how can it help to heal us? How can it help to sort of, fix our problems?
Okay, it's a really good question, because the bottom line is, I don't believe that astrology does that. Everybody has to take responsibility within themselves. But what astrology as a tool can do, and esoteric astrology specifically, which is what my in-depth study is about, is that it helps us to actually know ourselves, which is, a really important very important if we're going to become our full potential, is to know who we are.
Yeah.
And so what astrology as a tool is the capacity to look at understanding how your vehicle, how your personality expresses, how your emotional body is expressing, how your mental body is expressing, and the different tools that are given to us at the moment that we take our first breath through the positioning of where the planets are for our soul to express through. And when I use the word soul, Kevin, because that word is bandied about with many people don't really understand what is the soul. From an ageless wisdom perspective or an esoteric astrology perspective, the soul is understood to be the merit that's been accumulated throughout all of our lifetimes as an accumulation of every good deed, word and action. That's actually the light of our soul, which in the planes of consciousness is actually stored energetically as like electronic matrix of light. And so that an esoteric astrologer basically looks at how can we open ourselves to receive this light and actually have the courage to express that amount of magnificence of who we are.
So in a reading then, how does it normally work? Will it be like a life reading, or is there smaller sort of readings to do? Or?
Good question. You can have all different ways of looking, but in a proper esoteric astrology reading, if you've got the accuracy of knowing the time of your first breath, that's when you receive that enormous imprint into your light body of where the planets were positioned at that moment. From there, the astrologer would look and understand, okay, so where was the position of Mercury, where was the position of all the different planets, and that starts to give you an overall picture of what it would look like to see if you're living your purpose, basically.
And are most people living their purpose?
I would say that I'm quite blessed in, I live in Glastonbury and I seem to attract a lot of people in their awakening who are looking. I'd say only probably about 20% of people that come to see me are not living their purpose or not on track with what they've come in to do.
So most people that come see you are aligned with what they're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, they're in that beginning of that.
Right,
definitely.
okay, but you can help them just to make sure and just to sort of validate that they are on the correct path.
Yeah, I like to support, that's absolutely right, that I like to support people to get a reflection back, to see where they are in their cycle of their own awakening.
And does that work in relationships as well?
In relationships, astrology can be an amazing tool to understand the other, because actually our development and our way of evolving is to develop the wisdom and the love and the compassion to be able to put ourselves into a person's shoes and to not take things personally. So imagine in a relationship, which is such a amazing reflection at looking at how much we have the ability to be intimate, as in intimacy, into me I see. So it's every relationship that we have is like a vibrational match to let us have a look at what is it that we need to heal in ourselves in reality. And so by looking at another person's chart, looking at your lover's chart and understanding how that person actually affects you, but also what it is that they're here to do, so that we can see how can we support them to be in their full potential.
Well, when you say what they're here to do, I mean, how can you, through just an astrological reading, judge what they're here to do? I mean, are we talking about just on a very basic level, like communication or, business, or, how would you describe it?
So let's see. Say, for instance, like just from the little I know of your chart this morning when I asked you what time you were born, is that I understand that one of your key gifts is about communication, but another part is this incredible level of sensitivity, and that you love nurturing people. In fact, you probably love cooking, and if you ever got time to do it. But you'll be somebody who is very sensitive and loves to nurture. So that sensitivity, though, because when you're around abrasiveness, it could make you feel like closing. And so if your lover didn't really understand that, because you look like a strong, quite, you know, together type person, if they didn't have that understanding of your sensitivity, it would cause conflict in a relationship. So it's through looking at the person's whole chart and then giving insight to both people, to both couple in the relationship.
But you can't fix some couples, can you? For example, some relationships, well, be it couples or be it business relationship, it's still a sort of marriage relationship as such. If two people are totally incompatible, will that come through on the chart as well?
It definitely is noticeable, but sometimes the incompatibility is fascinating for me to see that often that people have a soul connection with each other, and there's like a silent meeting in the soul.
That doesn't mean it's going to last, though, does it?
Well, no, but there's another level where, for instance, they might not be at all compatible on a personality level. Like my lover, my beloved that died from a road traffic accident, we could really meet in that place of absolute silence in the soul. That was just one of the most beautiful meetings I've had. But on a personality level, we absolutely rubbed up against each other and challenged each other all the time. But that's part of the polishing of each one of us individually to become brilliant jewels, radiant jewels. And so it's not really, as an astrologer, I wouldn't necessarily look at a person and then say, oh, this couple are compatible or not compatible. What I would be looking at is, what's the purpose of this relationship? You know, that if we started our relationships and ended our relationships like that, then we would have a lot of grace.
Do we go in our relationships with the right expectations, do you think?
Well, no. No, mostly we come in with quite a self-centred projection of what we're looking to complete us. And so this whole unfolding that's happening for humanity is about all of us coming home to our heart and coming into our own alchemical marriage within, which is where we feel so complete and so connected to Source that we're not looking for another to complete us, but we're looking to share that connection with Source with another.
Okay.
And that, can you imagine the difference of a relationship?
Well, on so many levels as well. It would make a huge difference just overnight. So we're going to get more into that, Rita, after the break. So stay tuned and we'll be right back to talk with Rita after the break.
Do you want to know the meaning behind your date of birth and how your life is shaped? Learn to understand your gifts in this life to live your fullest potential. Discover where the planets were positioned on your birthday through soul-centered astrology with Rita. Call now on 0800 849 2310 or visit www.themoreshow.co.uk/book a reading.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
Welcome back. I'm still joined by esoterical astrologer Rita Herreys. Now, Rita, your work in the awakening process, or what you call the awakening process, so what is that to begin with?
Okay, well, what is going on with humanity is a very profound shift of consciousness, basically. This has been going on right from the beginning, this long-winded process. But what I'm calling awakening is not coming from me, it's just what's understood esoterically through all ageless wisdom. And all of that information comes from the Vedas, through Sufism, through Buddhism, through Christianity, through the Tao, through all paths of consciousness. Bring us back to this understanding that what awakening actually in reality is when we become conscious that we're not our conditioning, we're not the negative imprint which has this judgmental putting ourselves down all the time, voice that's running a program in our head. We're not that. And that we're not our emotional body either. That most of humanity is locked on the treadmill, the emotional treadmill of being an emotional reaction to what is coming towards them. awakening is when we have aligned ourselves to the center of all existence, to the center of the source of all creation, and where we become in harmony and at peace with ourselves, because each and every day that our actions that we're making become more and more increasingly harmless, that we develop compassion and loving wisdom and the capacity to put ourselves into another person's shoes and begin seeing ourselves as one human family, and recognise that if we're hurting another person, we're actually hurting ourselves. So we go from being lunar and absorbing energy all the time and taking energy to ourselves, to being solar, aligned to the source of creation and radiating the light of love.
So how long has this awakening process been going on for? I mean, and how long have we got left? Is it a lifetime's worth of journey, or?
Okay, let's put it into context. Okay, it is said that Jesus, as the Christ, in his lifetime, was the first master of wisdom to have opened all 12 petals of his heart center and take humanity to one level of consciousness, the first on that level. The Buddha was the first aspect of opening his brow center and taking humanity to be able to witness the good, the true and the beautiful, and being in right relationship, and to develop and understand right action. So these are different stages of awakening where somebody was the forerunner who comes to teach and show the way, to guide. But this age that we're in now, the Aquarian age, is the most profound that's ever been so far on Earth, because we're coming into an age where we're learning about, we're at the dawning of becoming aware of the essence of telepathy, for instance, where we become clearer of understanding that if we have anything that we think secret and that we want to keep hidden and masked, we're not going to be able to be in this telepathic state of oneness, open and transparent.
Okay. So would you say, though, that this is a lifetime course of change, or is it specific just for the next few years?
No, it's from the beginning of humanity's incarnation on Earth
to now.
But this is the first time that the human family are coming into this degree of awakening where the brow center is beginning to open on a collective level. When I say that, what I'm talking about is this: instead of being in fear and gloom and projecting negativity onto Earth, coming into a degree of harmony and awakening and alchemical marriage within ourselves, of where we've taken responsibility of our lives and recognise that we're creating all that's happening.
So are you saying the way that most of us are living, is not beneficial to us at all as an individual?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's a progress. It's an evolutionary process that up until now humanity hasn't been awakened. Our parents weren't imbuing us with a sense of, looking and seeing that you're in like a Buddha in its awakening and honouring in that way. It's really, 500 years ago or 200 years ago in England, I believe people bathed once a year and threw their poo out the window. That was like the Dark Ages. There's a huge transformation that's happening of consciousness now, where as we center, as we align to the source of all creation, as we actually take responsibility for our actions and stop behaving in this victim consciousness of feeling it's an us and them situation.
Right. But are you saying then that this awakening, are we all going to be a lot happier? Are we going to be happier now? What have we do to be happier, and for the awakening to have taken place? Okay,
it's really important you're asking that. The bottom line of what awakening is awakening to feel peaceful, to come into an atonement with ourselves, because of our own actions on a daily level. So that happiness arises from feeling like not only have we done our best, but we're actually making a difference in our lives. We're creating the earth in the way that we would love to see it. We're not looking for somebody outside of ourselves to do it for us. We're actually beginning to make that change for
So
ourselves.
what you're saying there is taking responsibility for all our actions.
In every way.
And anyone that's around us that gives negativity to us.
Okay, so then when somebody, so that's a really important thing that you're asking, that when we're in a situation where we're being dumped on or projected on, or somebody is pressing our buttons, instead of going into an emotional reaction to attempt to control that and to then join the person, we develop the wisdom and the compassion to be able to put ourselves into another person's shoes, to understand why they are and how they are, and then choose in that point to develop discernment, discrimination, to either close the door, not put ourselves into a situation where we're going to be drained and vampired, or make choices around, you know, where we spend our time. And what happens with people when they're awakening is that they start to meet their own soul family who recognise them and support them to be the light that they are, because they're not in the spirit of competition. Soul family, like we all have had in previous lives, trainings and been drawn to doing perhaps certain prayers or mantras, or developing certain circuits within our being. And when we meet people who have had that similar training, we recognise, oh, this person has an absolute exact resonance with me, or I really see myself in this person. And with soul family, it tends to, or what the Buddhists call the Sangha, what tends to happen is we have people that, instead of being in this energy of competition with you, want to support you to live your fullest potential.
Right. So what is our fullest potential that we could become in this lifetime if we take on board what you're saying, and that there's this incredible transformation taking place now, has been taking place and will keep taking place?
It's very, very simple. It's to just be resting in that place that's beyond the mind, in a place of deep, deep, deep rest that gives a feeling of expansion and space within the body. And through that comes incredible bliss.
And incredible openness to your potential as well.
And then that expresses in all different ways.
But how do we do that, though? Be so centred in a world that's just
turbulent.
So turbulent. We've got the bills to pay. We've got job losses on a major
if I bring
scale,
that back
riots.
to myself, okay, because I can speak from my own experience. I've got 4 children, single parent. Oldest is 28, youngest is 9. I watched my partner leave his body from a road traffic accident. My daughter was 5 months old. I was there, single, 4 kids. I was running my own cake business at the time. It was an intense period of my life. And what gave me the strength to not only transform everything, but just continue to be in bliss, was knowing that everything is part of an unfolding, beautiful, exquisite divine plan. And I trust that, not from a devotional point of view that's blind faith, but from a deep level of inner knowing, to see and be able to witness the good, the true and the beautiful in every situation. And the more that I drink from the source of existence, the more inspiration, that's, you know, like for instance with my paintings that are an expression of my own inner meditation, the amount of energy that I've got each and every day to hold workshops, to support people and run a business.
You are the proof. You are the proof.
I feel that I am on that level.
So you're not talking about a belief that you got, are you?
No.
You don't like that word, do you?
No, I don't.
So what do you call it?
It's more a deep knowing, and not just and it's
not a truth.
For me, because there are thousands. If you took a ball, or a sphere, and there are all different paths to lead to the centre of that ball, and all of them are truths. I'm not saying that I know more than anybody else. Awakening is self-realisation, and truth has a resonance.
And why are we not here to work on our emotions when a lot of people, that have come on this show say that, this whole planet's you're here to learn emotions? Okay,
I'm not saying
just very briefly.
Okay, it's about being able to liberate ourselves from being held and driven by our emotions and run by the emotional body, because that is a plane of samsara or illusion. And it's where we take things personally, and then we drop into the area of blame and you've done that to me, and it's where we get lost, because it's the astral plane. The emotions corresponds to the astral plane. My life is committed to being in alignment with the plane of the soul.
Right. So I suppose your message, if I sum it up properly, is no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what problems you've got, you can create anew at any time and become a wonderful and glorious person and live your true bliss.
And to add to that, I would say that actually we already are that. It's just that we have to remember it. It's a divine remembrance. It's through de-stressing that we come home to this divine remembrance that we are actually innocent and beautiful.
And we can all take this and go on this new journey of this new wonderful awakening that you're talking about.
Well, all I can say to that is that we are actually the ones that we've been waiting for. That it's not somebody outside of ourselves that's going to create the change.
But not everyone's going to go on that journey, are they?
Everyone is on a journey. We're in different stages of our development. The Bodhisattva vow from the Buddhist understanding is that until all beings are enlightened, that we keep coming back to be in service to humanity. And that's how I see myself, is that I love to be in service.
And one of those services is your clothes as well that you do.
Yeah, it is actually. And for a long time I was thinking, gosh, is this deep enough to be just doing clothing? But I've created a collection of clothes which are inspired by high frequency colours, colour therapy, and are based on they're very nourishing to the skin and to the etheric field, and they're beautiful, exquisite cashmere.
Well,
yeah,
Rita,
I loved it.
thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a complete pleasure.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, as after the break, I'll be talking to Doctor of Oriental Medicine, Dr. Robin Felkoff.
Do you want to know the meaning behind your date of birth and how your life is shaped? Learn to understand your gifts in this life to live your fullest potential. Discover where the planets were positioned on your birthday through soul-centered astrology with Rita. Call now on 0800 849 2310 or visit www.themoreshow.co.uk/book a reading.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.